it's okay for significant others to dress exactly the same, from the Ugg boots to the sweats to the bubble coat.
Most people are either too awed or frightened to actually talk to me, so it doesn't happen often.
Sometimes Chinese people are genuinely interested in practicing English, and then other times they're hitting on you, and it's very strange.
I would say that Chinese women that I have talked to, I've gotten numbers on like trains and things, and like set things up. Went on like a couple like mini dates, and then some things have been cool. A lot of times it's like the language barrier.
The problem is the language barriers.
But besides the language, they're really they got a different worldview. For one, you definitely have to marry their family, which I same thing with my wife now, kind of. But there it's even more, you know, they have one child, and it's a girl, and they're getting older, that girl has got to provide. That's interesting too. When I was in Harbin, girls wanted to hire me for a pretend boyfriend for this holiday. They didn't want to go home and tell their parents they didn't have a boyfriend.
I've literally met foreign women out here. I was the first black person they've ever met, let alone a black man. So for all you black brothers out there, hey, that's perfect.
They had the stereotype that, you know, black men all had really gigantic penises and you had to be careful having sex with them or whatever.
I think for me, I'm just afraid of like being fetishized as a black person. So like, I feel like there's already these ideas about Western women just in general that like, oh, they're so easy and da-da-da. And then black women, there's an idea in the US that like, black women are so easy. So like putting those two stereotypes together, I feel like, ooh, that could be bad.
In terms of Chinese men interaction with me, most of the time they're like trying to talk to my friends because I am black and what is perceived as beautiful in China is white and like blonde hair and attributes that have to do with being white.
Black women are at the bottom of the barrel, just like in America, just like in most countries around the world. Black women are at the bottom. Chinese men don't want black women because they feel like black women are too aggressive. They can't control them. I don't know. It's an idea that they have. European men look at black women as sexual things, sexual objects. African men is a little different, but there's a large community of African female prostitutes in Guangzhou. So the minute you go to a club, the minute you go out at night, the minute you wear something a little bit too revealing, it's not in a certain area, a certain place, it's not even second guessed who you are, where you're from, what you're doing there.
If you are a black woman, you are going to be approached. Like if you were in an area where there are a lot of African men, you're going to be approached. And you can tell them like, I'm not interested. You can tell them like, nah, I'm good, like any of those things. And they literally will not stop because there's so few actual black women. Right?
You know, like Chinese, in the eyes of Chinese, white is right. So they'll either look at you and be like, oh, wow, I love black. Or they'll look at you and they'll be like, you're ugly, like black people are ugly.
That dating scene is obviously old white guy with a young Chinese girl.
I mean, I've been to the club and some Chinese guys bought me drinks, added me on WeChat and stuff like that. Usually they're like older Chinese guys, like around, I guess, mid-30s, are like, oh, do you think I'm handsome? Do you think, you know, you're so beautiful? Some guys have said like, oh, you're so beautiful, walking down the street, but it's nothing like in the United States. Like, no one's really trying to talk to me. In Lishui, I had this guy, and he would like, and Chinese people, they're so abrupt. They're so abrupt. And he'd be like, yes, I like you. 我喜欢你. Okay, we go now. Restaurant, now. I'm like, okay, is he giving me orders or is he inviting me out to go to dinner with him? It was really weird. I had to cut that off in a day, to be honest. But
there was that one time in Shanghai we were there, and that Chinese guy, do you remember? And the Chinese guy kissed my forehead, and I was very confused. And I wanted to hit him, but by the time I was going to hit him, his girlfriend had smacked him. So there were those things.
The skills, the social skills to kind of continue on a conversation of flirting. Like they don't really have that. It's just always like a socially awkward kind of thing. Like, oh, you're pretty, okay. And then it just kind of stops there. You know, it's like they don't like try to talk to you more. It's just kind of like they think, oh, you just say one thing and then the girl's supposed to be like, oh, yay. Because I think that's what happens with the Chinese girls, you know? Like, you see them with like one of my Chinese friends, this guy, he's Chinese and he liked her. And he was talking to her and said, oh, like, you're very pretty, I like you. And then she was in it. Like, she was already like, okay, let's go. And it's
No, there was nothing soft, nothing like, oh, how are you? Oh, I saw you yesterday. I met you yesterday. How was your day been? What you do? No, I like you. You come now. We go. And this is all written in Chinese. It was like, it's very, very much like that. It's very static and very detached, and I don't do detached.
It's a difference in culture, and so you know, I find I have to be receptive to certain things that they say and do.
Sometimes a person is not clear about if they're interested in you or not in the States, and there's the idealism called of games that people play. What I find in China, I don't find any of that in terms of my dating experience here. If you meet someone, you can talk with them, you can ask them out. If they were interested, they would go out. If they're not, they would not. But there was never like a miscommunication of that person's interest, at least in my experience.
You have to understand Chinese culture when you're dealing with them. They have this thing, saving face, losing face. Well, first of all, when they show up with you, it could be a losing face situation because you're black and you're looked upon as not the top of the food chain. The white boy is looked at as the top of the food chain. So, in many cases, you won't get that prima donna, you know. But, when saying that, in my case, I meet a lot of established women, you know, that have their own car, own house. But the only problem is when I do meet them, then they're in that situation where, you know, they want that one and only, and want to get married, you know, type situation.
Most women out here are looking for somebody to marry, but not just marry, they're looking for somebody that has potential or already has money.
Or else they're going to want to treat you like a moped, you know what that means? They want to ride you, but don't want nobody to see you riding you.
Being young, independent, you know, if you want it, you go out and get it. You know, if you don't know the answer, you figure out the answer. Things like that aren't necessarily communicated from their powers that be, whether it be their parents, their role models, their idols, their boss, their whatever. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times you gotta get past that barrier of...
It was too needy.
And so in dealing with the women out here, you gotta open up your cultural mind. You gotta like tap into a different box. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you look at and overweight. They don't like fat people, basically. And a couple girls told me that you're too fat.
They won't ask you your name first. They won't ask your age. They won't ask anything. They'll say, hey, how much money do you make, or what is your job? This one girl, right? She's pretty much like a local celebrity out here. You know, she was saying for the longest, like, yo, 1, 2, what's up? You know, let's meet up. And I was like, yeah, you know, whatever. Because I was already dealing with other stuff. I didn't even necessarily want to get involved. But the way that I knew that she really liked me was literally one night at like 4:30 in the morning. There was like a huge, and I just finished performing, and it was a huge rainstorm. So I get a phone call from her. She heard the thunder, right? and she heard the thunder, so she woke up out of her sleep to call me to make sure that I had an umbrella. Now in Chinese culture, if a woman calls you to make sure that you got an umbrella, that means, yo, she genuinely cares about you and she straight up, quote unquote, likes you. Actually, like might be, it's at a higher level than like you know what I'm saying? And so when my boy, my partner, and my homeboy, my friend, business partner that is, you know, he's been out here for 11 years. So I had to ask him, and you know, we perform together, you know, we're a group. And I was like, yo, son, like, yo, why did Shorty just call me to do that? He was like, yo, 1, 2, that means that, yo, she's really into you. So I was like, word? I was like, all right, yo, break it down to me. And it was just that. Like, yo, think about it. She woke up out of her sleep because, you know, inside, in her mind, there was something that was triggered to say, let me make sure 1, 2's okay. So I was like, psh, yo, that's hot.
In Lohu, there's like two LGBT bars. Like there's a gay bar and there's also a lesbian one as well. And oddly enough, I think this shows sort of like maybe sort of like I guess like which China like accepts more. Like for example, the gay bar is just like very open. You can just like walk right in, and then like you're there. But with the lesbian bar, it's like very hidden. Like you go into this like unassuming building. You go on like the 11th floor, and then like you go out, like turn left, then turn right, and there's like this room where there's like 5 like lesbians in there. Like that's it. Like it's just. But I mean, on the other hand, like the gay bar, like you just go in and it's just like drag queens dancing on the stage and like 100 people just like in there like chilling.
The lesbian scene, it's there. It's kind of like one of those things where you'll be in like a big like mall, and it'll be like there's a lesbian club on the 16th floor of this random mall that you would never know existed because it's like really underground. But like you walk into the club on the 16th floor, and there's like a club packed with like lesbians and stuff.
In Baoan, people do not use Grindr. I get on Grindr, and the closest person is like 15 miles away. But they actually use Jacked a lot more often in Baoan. And honestly, I think it's because Grindr is solely for, I think it's solely for iPhones. I guess you wouldn't know, but yeah, I think Grindr is solely for iPhones. And maybe there is an Android app, but I don't think it's as widely used, whereas Jacked is available on iOS and also Android devices. So, and a lot of, I mean, since Baoan is an outer district, and it's a little bit, and like the vast majority of people are, gosh, what's the word? Like migrant workers. So I mean, they're not as affluent. So most people have like cheap phones, like cheap Android phones, or just like Nokias or something. So on a cheap Android phone, you can get Jacked.
Like there's a lady that works at my job, and she's a lesbian, and like no one, like it doesn't matter. She just likes girls, but at the end of the day, she's still expected to marry a man. Like she doesn't really have a choice to be like a lesbian in life. Like she can identify as a lesbian all she wants, and you know, engage in homosexual activities, but in about 2 years, she's going to be married to a man. So it doesn't matter, and that's kind of what I see a lot with the Chinese lesbians that I know.
In the previous year, one of my friends also studied abroad there, and he's gay as well. And he met this guy at a club. Him and the guy like came back to his apartment or whatever. Like they were like hooking up, they were like kissing like in the shower and stuff like that. And then like after that, like they went to like his bedroom, and the guy was just like, oh no, like I don't do that. I'm like not gay. And my friend was just like, what? And like the guy just like left. So it's just very, I feel like Chinese people definitely have like a different, I don't know, they have a different way of like sort of expressing sexuality, and also just like they would do things that like people wouldn't do in America. Like for example, like 2 of my straight male high school students, like they would just like sit on each other's laps or just like slap each other in the ass like randomly. And it's just like, I don't know, like people like wouldn't do that in America.
You might want to cut this because like I don't know what I'm talking about.